No one saw this coming. In a courtroom packed with tension and betrayal, 50 Cent walked in like a bomb waiting to explode, and when he took the stand, everything changed. Remy Ma, already fighting for her son's life and reputation, thought she had prepared for everything. But nothing could have braced her for him. 50 didn't speak for long. He didn't have to. With just 2 words, he dismantled the fragile defense Remy's legal team had built for months. Eyewitnesses say her hands trembled, her lips parted in disbelief. And then she collapsed. This wasn't a diss track. This wasn't an Instagram post. This was real life. Real stakes. A mother watching her son's future get buried under the weight of someone else's grudge. And when 50 locked eyes with her across that courtroom, it wasn't hatred, it was victory. Cold, calculated, and personal. How did it come to this? What history between Remy and 50 led to this brutal betrayal? Cord. And what were the 2 words that might seal her son's fate forever? Stay tuned, because this isn't just a trial. It's revenge, legacy, and heartbreak colliding in one deadly moment. The courtroom was already tense when Remy Ma walked in, wearing all black sunglasses, barely hiding the stress written across her face. Her legal team surrounded her like a protective barrier, but nothing could shield her from what was about to happen. The murder trial involving her son had already made national headlines. But what happened next would shake the hip-hop world to its core. Because that day, a surprise witness took the stand. It wasn't a snitch. It wasn't a friend of the victim. It was none other than 50 Cent. And he wasn't playing. The second he walked into that courtroom, all cameras turned. People were stunned. Even Remy's attorneys looked blindsided. Nobody expected 50 Cent, a man known for his beefs and his petty internet wars, to step into the real-life battlefield of a courtroom. But when he raised his right hand and took that oath, it was clear. This wasn't for show. This was war. And Remy Ma was the target. Now here's where it gets deeper. For months, the trial had focused on Remy's son accused in a brutal murder case tied to a street-level gang beef in New York. The prosecutors had shaky evidence, and Remy's legal team was confident they could beat the case. They painted Remy's son as a victim of circumstance in the wrong place at the wrong time. They had character witnesses, alibis, and statements prepared. But all of that came crashing down the moment 50 Cent opened his mouth. You see, 50 wasn't just testifying as a rapper or a celebrity. He claimed he had direct information about the murder. And he alleged that Remy Ma knew more than she was letting on. According to him, Remy had tried to cover up certain details in the early days of the investigation. But more shocking than that, he claimed she confessed something to someone in his circle. Something that changed everything. The prosecution asked, what exactly did Remy Ma say? 50 leaned forward, looked around the courtroom, then dropped the 2 words that silenced the entire room. He knew. That's it. 2 words. But they hit like a nuclear bomb. He knew. According to 50's testimony, Remy Ma admitted privately that her son knew what he was walking into that night. He wasn't caught off guard. He wasn't an innocent bystander. He was aware of the potential for violence and still showed up. That moment alone dismantled the heart of the defense, which had argued that her son was being unfairly painted as a suspect. The emotional part. The moment those 2 words hit the room, Remy broke. Tears streamed down her face. Her body slumped. In the chair, the judge had to call a brief recess because she couldn't breathe. She collapsed into her lawyer's arms. Now, let's rewind for a second. Why would 50 Cent get involved in Remy Ma's family business? The streets were already buzzing. Some said it was revenge for a business deal gone bad. Others said it was personal, something deeper than rap beef. But the most believable theory? This wasn't just about Remy, it was about power. 50 Cent has made a career off controlling narratives. He doesn't just respond to disrespect, he buries it. And if Remy Ma had crossed him in any way, this was the ultimate payback. Not with diss tracks, not with memes, but with a court testimony that could ruin her life and destroy her family. Let's not forget Remy Ma has a complicated history. A past filled with violence, prison time, street loyalty, and industry drama. For years, she tried to shed that image, focused on motherhood, her marriage to Papoose, and her music career. But 50's testimony pulled her right back into that darkness. In the public's eyes, she went from a strong woman fighting for her child to someone who may have knowingly shielded a killer. And that's not even the worst part. After the recess, the defense scrambled to discredit 50 Cent. They claimed he had no direct ties to the case. They painted him as a publicity-hungry star trying to stay relevant. But 50 was ready. It pulled out a recorded phone call. A conversation he claimed took place between one of his associates and Remy Ma. The audio wasn't crystal clear, but there was one chilling line that echoed through the speakers. He knew what it was. We both did. The prosecution didn't even need to say anything. The jurors looked stunned. Even Remy's own lawyers were shaken. Her son sat in silence, jaw clenched, eyes locked forward. If that tape was authenticated, it could be the end of their defense. That night, social media exploded. #Remy Ma trended worldwide. Some fans defended her, saying she was being set up. Others questioned how deep she was in. Papoose stayed quiet, but insiders say he was furious, screaming behind closed doors, demanding answers. This wasn't just a legal loss. This was a betrayal on every level. 50 Cent, meanwhile, stayed in his usual trolling mode. He posted a clip of himself walking out of the courtroom with the caption, "All facts, no cap." Then, in true 50 fashion, he posted a video clip of Remy from years ago saying, "I ride for mine." Underneath, he wrote, "And you did." Right into the courtroom. But not everyone thought it was funny. Several hip-hop veterans spoke out. Fat Joe, who has long been loyal to Remy, said in a radio interview, "I don't know what's real or what's not, but dragging a mother in court over her child's case, that's cold." Others accused 50 of going too far, using his influence to play God in the courtroom. Still, the damage was done. Remy's legal team spent the next 2 days trying to recover. They argued that 50's testimony should be thrown out due to bias. They claimed he was just trying to ruin her reputation, but the court wasn't buying it. The judge allowed the recording to remain in evidence, and the prosecution began painting a timeline showing how Remy Ma might have interfered with the investigation. Not only was her son now on trial for murder, but Remy herself might face obstruction charges. Think about that. The same woman who rebuilt her life after prison might be headed back behind bars because she tried to protect her child. It's a nightmare scenario. And at the center of it is a man who seems to thrive off other people's destruction, 50 Cent. Whether he was telling the full truth, stretching it for drama, or playing some deeper game. One thing is clear, Remy Ma's world is crumbling. The courtroom isn't just a legal battleground anymore, it's a war zone for legacy, for freedom, and for survival. And as the trial continues, one question lingers over everything. Was 50 Cent speaking truth? Or just delivering the most vicious chess move of his life? Either way, Remy Ma is on the edge. And if this trial doesn't end in her favor, she could lose everything: her son, her freedom, and the respect she fought so hard to regain. The air around Remy Ma had grown thick with silence, both inside the courtroom and out. Her collapse during 50 Cent's testimony had made national news. But the damage it did to her defense was deeper than any headline could show. She was no longer seen as a grieving, protective mother. She was now being painted as a key player in a twisted web of secrets, loyalty, and deception. And as the prosecution built their case, the picture became even more damning. Following the court recess, the judge reconvened with a strict tone. The courtroom was filled with reporters, bloggers, and industry insiders, all glued to every word, waiting to see how deep this rabbit hole would go. The prosecution wasted no time. They began laying out a timeline that connected Remy Ma's actions before and after the night. Her son was accused of the fatal shooting, according to their evidence. Remy's phone records showed several calls made in the hours after the crime. None to police, none to lawyers, but multiple to unknown burner numbers. The prosecution implied that these were attempts to contact individuals to help clean up the situation. Remy's team denied this, of course, claiming the calls were coincidental, made to old friends for unrelated reasons. But the damage had already started to chip away at her credibility. Then came the surveillance footage from a bodega just 2 blocks away from the crime scene. The video didn't show Remy Ma, but it did show a vehicle registered under her name slowly circling the area just 20 minutes after the incident occurred. Her defense team tried to explain it away. She was picking someone up nearby, they argued. But the prosecutors weren't buying it. Combined with 50 Cent's earlier testimony that Remy said he knew what it was, the evidence started to stack in a way that the jury could no longer ignore. Behind the scenes, the mood in Remy's inner circle was unraveling. Papoose, once silent, was now furious. According to sources close to the family, he had demanded Remy come clean about everything, every single call, every connection, every decision made that night. Their relationship, already strained from past scandals, was now dangling by a thread. Some said Papoose stopped showing up to court after that collapse. Others said he was working privately to distance their daughter from the chaos. And then came the leak. A series of text messages allegedly between Remy Ma and one of her son's friends, who was also a witness in the case, began circulating on social media. The texts were vague, but incriminating. Phrases like, "Stay low, don't say too much, and we'll figure it out," suggested that she may have been trying to influence witness testimony, or worse, obstruct justice. Her attorneys claim the messages were fake, manufactured by bloggers and trolls looking to capitalize on the drama. But the prosecution filed a motion to authenticate them, and the judge allowed an investigation to proceed. Every moment of this trial was now under a microscope. It wasn't just about Remy's son anymore. It was about Remy Ma's involvement, her integrity, her entire legacy. And the prosecution was clearly enjoying the shift in momentum. They called character witnesses that painted Remy as aggressive, controlling, and fiercely protective to a fault. People who once worked with her, ex-stylists, former managers, even a retired bodyguard, who all gave testimonies that painted her as someone who would do anything to protect her circle, even if it meant crossing the line. It was brutal, but 50 Cent wasn't finished either. His media campaign outside of court continued to twist the knife. He posted clips from Power with captions like, "Life imitates art," and even dropped a short video of himself laughing with the words, "When they thought I wouldn't pull up to court, but I owned the courtroom." He was trolling Remy into oblivion, and the fans were split. Some cheered him on, applauding his ruthlessness. Others called him heartless, accusing him of using a family tragedy to settle a score. But the worst was yet to come. On the 5th day of trial, a surprise witness took the stand. A young man named Malik, allegedly an ex-associate of Remy's son. No one had expected his name to surface. According to Malik, Remy had reached out to him just 2 days after the shooting, claimed she warned him not to speak to authorities, and offered to take care of him if he stayed quiet. The courtroom was frozen. Remy looked like she had seen a ghost. Her lawyers immediately objected, calling Malik's testimony unreliable, stating he had a criminal background and was trying to save himself from charges. But when Malik pulled out a voicemail allegedly from Remy Ma and played it aloud in the courtroom, his jaws dropped. On the voicemail, a voice that sounded remarkably like Remy said, "You don't say nothing, you hear me? You don't talk to nobody, I'm handling it." The courtroom went silent again. Remy's team argued the voicemail was manipulated. They begged the court for time to verify its authenticity. But even if it was fake, the damage to the jury's perception was already done. Suddenly, The image of Remy Ma as a mother trying to protect her son blurred into something darker. A woman using her influence and status to interfere with justice. By now, the stress had clearly taken its toll. Remy was visibly thinner, more tired, and less fiery than fans remembered her. Her makeup could no longer hide the emotional cracks. Even when leaving the courthouse, she stopped speaking to reporters. No tough words, no denials. Just silence. Back home, Papoose reportedly began removing photos of the couple from his social media. A silent protest. No public statement. Just the slow, quiet dismantling of everything they'd built together. He had once stood by her through prison, through scandal, through criticism. But now, with her son facing life in prison and Remy at risk of her own charges, even he had his limits. And then the prosecution ended the day with a gut punch, a final summary to the jury. Remy Ma didn't just witness a tragedy. The prosecutor said she managed it, controlled it, interfered with it. And in doing so, she betrayed not just the law, but the very people who once saw her as a hero. That night, social media was on fire again. The memes, the think pieces, the reactions from celebrities. Charlemagne Sagad said on The Breakfast Club, "This trial's not just about guilt, it's about legacy." And right now, Remy's legacy is burning. Nicki Minaj even liked a post that said, "Karma's real." Petty? Absolutely. But in this game, everyone watches everyone. The courtroom lights dimmed that evening. But the spotlight on Remy only got hotter. She had gone from the Queen of the Bronx to the centerpiece of one of the most controversial trials in hip-hop history. And as part 2 ends, one question remains on everyone's mind. Will Remy Ma survive the final blow the prosecution's preparing? Because word is, there's still one more bombshell left to drop. The courtroom was at capacity as everyone returned for what was expected to be the final blow. After days of bombshells, betrayals, and emotional breakdowns, it felt like the walls of Remy Ma's world were closing in. Her son was still facing the murder charge. Her own voice was now linked to possible obstruction. And her husband, Papoose, had all but vanished from the picture. But no one, not even the most jaded court watchers, expected what came next. As the prosecution stepped forward to present their final witness, a murmur ran through the room. People leaned in, reporters pulled out notepads. And then the name was announced, Lisa Morales, a Bronx parole officer with a shocking connection to Remy Ma's past and a dangerous, new piece of the puzzle. Lisa claimed she had worked with Remy during the final phase of her probation after Remy's original prison stint years ago. But this time, her testimony wasn't about the past. It was about what happened just months before the murder trial began. According to Lisa, Remy reached out, in a panic, asking if certain sealed juvenile records could ever be used against someone in court. When asked why, Remy allegedly said, "I just need to know how to protect him before it gets ugly." The courtroom was silent again. The prosecution argued that this proved Remy Ma had prior knowledge of what was coming. That she wasn't shocked by the murder charge, she was preparing for it. And that preparation, they argued, included manipulating witnesses, destroying evidence, and leveraging her connections to protect her son and herself. Remy's defense team was scrambling. They tried to call the testimony irrelevant, saying Lisa's words were speculative, but it was too late. The jury was watching Remy closely now. Every fidget, every whisper to her lawyer, every long stare into space, they saw it all. And with every new piece of evidence, it looked more like a woman trying to bury the truth than a mother caught in the storm. Meanwhile, outside the courtroom, 50 Cent was still fanning the flames. He posted yet another Instagram post, a split screen image of Remy Ma in handcuffs from her 2008 arrest and a courtroom sketch of her from the current trial. The caption read, "Different year. Same story." The comments exploded with thousands of responses, some laughing, some furious, some calling 50 a genius, others begging him to stop, but 50 was loving every second of it. For him, this wasn't just about Remy Ma. It was about dominance, control, revenge. And as it stood, he was winning. Back inside, the judge gave the defense one last chance to present their final argument. And to their credit, they pulled out all the emotional stops. Remy's lawyer stood and addressed the jury directly. Remy Ma is not perfect. She's made mistakes. But she is a mother, a wife, a woman who has spent the last decade trying to build something better than where she came from. Are we going to let whispers, speculation, and one celebrity's personal vendetta destroy everything she's fought for? It was powerful. Even Remy shed tears. But the prosecutor stood right after and coldly delivered the line that destroyed it all. Intentional obstruction is not motherhood. It's manipulation. Boom. And just like that, the jury was handed the case. They deliberated for 2 full days. 2 long, exhausting days where the entire hip-hop community waited for a verdict. During that time, Remy was seen visiting her son in holding. No cameras, no statements. Just a mother and son, both exhausted, both uncertain of the future. But then the decision came. The courtroom filled up again. Cameras rolled. Reporters whispered. Remy Ma stood tall, shaking, but standing as the jury foreperson read the verdict. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of manslaughter in the first degree. Remy's son broke down in tears. So did Remy. But the judge wasn't done. The prosecution had filed a motion to charge Remy with obstruction of justice based on the evidence revealed during the trial. The judge, after reviewing the voicemail, the text messages, and Lisa's testimony, ruled there was enough to proceed with a separate indictment. And just like that, in one courtroom. In one moment, Remy Ma watched her entire world collapse. Her son facing up to 25 years in prison. Herself facing a new trial. Papoose, absent, and 50 Cent, sitting somewhere with a cigar, smirking while the internet did the rest. But there was one more twist after the verdict. Someone from Remy's team leaked a message allegedly written by her to Papoose in the days before her courtroom breakdown. It read, "I don't know how to protect him anymore. Everything I do backfires. I never meant for it to go this far." The message stirred deep emotions. Fans who once dragged her now paused, because no matter how wrong her actions were, there was something undeniably human about them. A mother trying to save her son. A woman pulled between the law and her loyalty. A rapper who once stood strong in the face of bullets, now broken by the one war she couldn't win. Family, the culture, took notice. Some artists sent support. Cardi B tweeted, "There's always more to the story. Stay strong." Fat Joe visited her son in holding, reportedly saying, "The Bronx don't turn on its own." But others said this was what happens when you live too long in survival mode, when you make your name in the streets but try to play by clean rules only when it's convenient. That karma doesn't forget, and neither does 50 DOT in the weeks that followed. Remy Ma was booked for obstruction charges. She posted bail but disappeared from public view entirely. No interviews, no appearances, just silence. Even Papoose stayed. Quiet, their family was shattered, their brand gone. And in hip-hop, the silence after the scandal is often the loudest part. But fans still ask, why did 50 Cent do it? Was it really about justice, or was it revenge wrapped in righteousness? Some say 50 had been waiting for the right moment to get back at Remy for past tension. Others claim Remy once interfered in a major G-Unit negotiation, costing him millions. Whatever the reason, what's clear is that when 50 went for her, he didn't aim for her career. He aimed for her heart, her family, her future, and he didn't. Miss Dot, as the dust settles, one thing remains certain. This trial changed the face of hip-hop forever. It reminded us that the past always comes back. That power is dangerous when held by the wrong hands. And that sometimes even the strongest fall the hardest. Remy Ma was once the street queen who beat the odds. Now she's a mother in crisis, a rapper in retreat. and a woman watching her empire turn to ash. But this story ain't done yet. A second trial awaits. More secrets are rumored to be buried. And if Remy decides to fight back legally or musically, we could see one of the rawest comebacks in rap history, or Isia. Or we could be witnessing the final chapter of a legend. Only time will tell. This isn't just a courtroom loss, it's the unraveling of a legacy. Remy Ma went from one of the most feared and respected voices in the game to a mother caught in the crossfire of justice, loyalty, and betrayal. Her son is facing decades behind bars. She's looking at her own charges, and 50 Cent. He just proved once again that when he aims to destroy, he finishes the job. But what do you think? Was Remy just trying to protect her child the only way she knew how? Or did she let her past cloud her judgment and drag her entire family down? And what about 50 Cent? Is he a hero for speaking the truth, or a cold-blooded mastermind playing God with people's lives? We want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We're reading every single one. And if you're ready for more raw, real, and unfiltered breakdowns like this, smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a single drop. This is Rare Celeb, where hip-hop meets headlines and the truth always gets exposed.